Do you know that human beings are the last bones of God? We are the last bones of God. Let us prove that. And I'm not saying my own things, it's in the Bible. If you look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, it was on the 56th day that God created man. I see. After creating all things, God created man last on the 56th day, then he rested on the 7th day. So I see. Human beings came in last, were created last. So everything in heaven was created at first. The angels and everything. Then when God came to work on the earth, to do his work of creation, he started by creating light and separating light from darkness. He called the light day and darkness night. Then he went on to create the seas and the mountains and the rivers and the trees and the animals. Then man was created last. So it's amazing, if you look at everything, all animals were actually created before us. Everything, the mountains, the rivers, everything was created before us. We came in last. Towards the 7th day when God was going to rest, Even when you read the second story of creation, Eve was created last. Adam's rib was taken and Eva was created last. Eva was the last actually among the creations, and we all came from Eve, So this makes us the last bones of God's creation. We are the last bones. We came in last. And no wonder, look around. No wonder we are the last bones, We behave like last bones. Look at all human beings. We are very annoying. We can be very annoying, We can be very innocent and naive sometimes. And we can be so trusting, And just everything, we are just last bones, Everything just speaks for itself. Just look at the way we behave, Just like last bones. We cry for things all the time, My money, my car, my business, my job title, my land, Just like last bones, We cry for things all the time, Mine, 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 And sometimes God just says, okay, let them have it. Just like a parent, to the last bones. So we are last bones, We are God's last bones, actually. We were created last. After everything, after the angels, after the trees, we came in last. So what does that mean? That means two things we are going to discuss in this video, Number one is that God is our real parent. That's what it means, actually. God is the real parent of all creation and all creatures, Your parents are not your real parents. Your parents are the representatives of God, That's why the Bible tells us to respect our parents, because our parents respect God. They're supposed to introduce us to the love of God. They're supposed to take care of us, like from the beginning, so that when we grow up, and then it is God who is taking care of us now, we know what it means for a parent to take care of a child, So it reminds all of us, like all of us, even us who aspire to be parents, and all the parents, like when you become a parent, you're actually representing God in the child or in the life of that child, So anyway, that's what it means, God is our real parent. Because I want to ask you this. Think about it, like the parents give birth to the body, God gives birth to the soul and the spirit. The body is temporal, okay? The body will die at one time, and but the spirit will live forever. The soul will live forever. So I want to ask you, between the one who gives birth to something temporal and the one who gives birth to something permanent, who is the real parent? We could argue the one who gives birth to what will live forever is the real parent, So that is God. The parents give birth to the body, God gives birth to the soul and the spirit, okay? And the spirit will live forever. So that makes God your real parent, because he's the parent of our souls. So you see what I'm saying? So that is number one. That's why even when Jesus tells us to pray, in Matthew and Luke, I'll put the chapters up there, it doesn't tell us to call God master, It doesn't tell us to call God our master. It doesn't tell us to call God, our great saving God, no. It doesn't tell us to call God our great teacher, no. It doesn't tell us to call God our boss, no. It doesn't tell us to call God, our leader or whatever, no. He says, call him our Father, you see. That's why Jesus says, like, we call God our Father, because He's a Father, He's the Father of our souls and our spirits. So that's what this means. That number one, God is our real parent, because that's how the transition of growth happens. You start with your parents, and then when you move out of your parents' house, you realize things are hard. Life is difficult, and you think you're on your own. But when you bring God into the mix, you realize, oh, actually, we all have a parent who takes care of us, That's when you begin to see the providence of God. So that's how life is supposed to go, from the providence of your parents to the providence of God. You step into the providence of God. So God is our real parents, and He takes care of us. And those who don't step into the providence of God and trusting in Him, in most cases, miss out on more things in life. And I want to remind you of this. Remember, our parents used to send us to school, without school fees. And they told you, go and study, I'll pay the school fees. We would trust our parents and go to school, And we would study and prepare for the exams without even knowing, where they will get the school fees. But somehow they would get the school fees for us, So that's the same thing God tells us, like, trust in Him and move and do things in your life. He will provide, because He has said it in the Bible over and over again, like, if you trust in Me, if you're mindful of Him, He will make your path straight in life. I'll put the verse up there. I think it is Proverbs chapter 1, Like, God will provide for you, like, God will take care of you. So trust Him the way we used to trust our parents and go to school and study without knowing where they will get the school fees, but they got it. So God is telling us the same thing. Move, do things, like, don't just sit, move and do things, and God will work. God will provide, the providence, the grace, and He will open doors. Okay? So trust in Him. You pray, believe, and then move, because even He says, ask and you will be given, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. So that's what the parent is telling us. Like, you move, have the faith of a mustard seed, and God will open doors for you. So that's number one. God is our real parent, and our parent is telling us to move in life and do things. He will provide the school fees. He will provide the blessings. He will open the doors, So move. Don't get discouraged. No, God is telling us today, don't be discouraged. The way we never used to be discouraged. We would read and prepare for exams without knowing that the parents would pay school fees or not, but they would pay and we still do the exams. So that's number one. Number two, what this means is that we are loved, We are loved like lastborns. Because that's what happens. There's something between parents and lastborns. There's a way parents just love the lastborns, There's a way parents just love their lastborns that make all the other children go like, what's happening here? And that's the same thing between God and man, There's a way God just loves human beings, that makes other creatures and angels go like, what is going on between, God and His people? So there's a way God has always loved human beings. There's a way God has always, been gracious towards human beings, because He knows we are His lastborns, We don't know much. And that's why we depend on faith, to interact with God. Look at Abraham. When God called Abraham, Abraham made many mistakes, but God stood with him still, He stood with him, and there was that love between God and Abraham. The same love we are talking about, the love of, the lastborn and the parent. The same with Jesus, He stood with His people. I look at Peter, the way he disappointed Jesus many times, but he stood with Him, So the same thing I'm telling you, like, if you are doubting it, I want to reassure you today, you are loved. You are loved by God like a parent loves a lastborn, You are so loved. You are so loved, like you are a lastborn. You are so loved. So don't get discouraged, Things may happen and you think, blah, 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 You may think, God doesn't care, but God cares, God cares what happens to every human being. Because in the Bible they say, even cares what happens to small birds, Nothing dies without God knowing. That's what Jesus tells us in the Bible. Like, even the small birds, before they die, God gets to know about it. And Jesus tells us we are worth more than small birds. We are more worthy. So God cares. That's what I want to tell you. And He cares about you like a parent cares for a lastborn, because you are a lastborn. And your Heavenly Father loves you like a parent loves a lastborn. So know it today. Take it and move with confidence, because you're loved. Peace. I'm out. See you in the next one. Thank you.